Have you ever wondered how D-Day, one of the most pivotal operations in World War II, was planned and executed? Picture this: thousands of brave soldiers, a complex battle plan, and a day that forever changed the course of history. D-Day was no ordinary event. Its scale was immense, its impact far-reaching. It marked a turning point in World War II, a moment when the tide of war began to shift. Stay tuned as we delve into the meticulous planning, the daring execution, and the far-reaching aftermath of D-Day. The seeds of D-Day were sown long before the first soldier stepped onto the beaches of Normandy. Every war story has a beginning, and this one begins in the hallowed halls of military command, where a daring plan was being hatched. Picture this. It's the early 40s and World War II is raging. Allied forces are brainstorming ideas to turn the tide of the war. Enter key figures like General Dwight D. Eisenhower, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Admiral Bertram Ramsay. These men, among others, were the architects of Operation Overlord, the code name for the invasion of Normandy, the largest amphibious assault in history. Strategy is the lifeblood of any military operation, and D-Day was no exception. The plan was audacious, to say the least. The idea was to launch a massive amphibious and airborne assault on the coast of Normandy in Nazi-occupied France. This would establish a strong foothold in continental Europe, a critical step towards ending the war. But planning an operation of this magnitude was like trying to put together a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle in the dark. The challenges were daunting: assembling and training a multinational force, collecting the necessary equipment, maintaining secrecy, and predicting the unpredictable, the weather. Despite these hurdles, the Allied forces were determined. They spent months meticulously planning, strategizing, and rehearsing. Every detail was scrutinized, every contingency considered. The troops underwent rigorous training, preparing them for the harsh and unpredictable conditions they would face. In the quiet before the storm, the men knew the enormity of the task ahead. The air was thick with anticipation and tension, but there was also a sense of resolution, a shared understanding that they were about to take part in something monumental. The stage was set, the troops were ready, and the fate of the war hung in the balance. The blueprint of victory had been drawn. All that remained was to execute it. And so, as dawn broke on June 6, 1944, the world held its breath, and the greatest military operation in history began. June 6, 1944, began like any other day, but by its end, it had etched its place in history. As dawn broke, thousands of Allied soldiers, hailing from lands far and wide, found themselves on the shores of Normandy. This was D-Day, a day of destiny, a day of decision. The enormity of the task ahead was clear to all, yet in the face of the unknown, they soldiered on. Picture a vast armada of ships, the largest seaborne invasion in history, converging on the French coast. Imagine the thunderous roar of the bombers overhead, the deafening blasts of artillery, the heart-stopping whine of bullets. Amidst this chaotic symphony of war, the brave soldiers pressed forward, each step a testament to their courage and resolve. The beaches of Normandy were no tropical paradises. They were killing fields, laced with obstacles and fortified by the enemy. Names like Omaha, Utah, Gold, Juno, and Sword, once just geographical markers, were transformed into symbols of valor and sacrifice. The soldiers faced a formidable foe, entrenched in concrete bunkers and armed to the teeth. Yet, they fought on, driven by duty and the hope of a better tomorrow. The operation was a calculated risk, a daring gambit, a roll of the dice. The stakes, nothing less than the fate of the free world. Not all who landed on the beaches that day would live to see the sunset. Many made the ultimate sacrifice, their names forever etched on the annals of history. Yet their loss was not in vain. For each fallen soldier, each bullet fired, each yard gained, represented a step towards victory. The intensity of the operation was unparalleled. From the first light of dawn till the last glimmers of dusk, the battle raged. The day seemed to stretch into infinity, each second loaded with uncertainty, each minute brimming with potential triumph or tragedy. As the sun set on June 6, 1944, the world held its breath, waiting to see what the dawn would bring. The longest day had ended, but the fight for freedom was far from over. It was a day that would forever be remembered as a turning point, a day that marked the beginning of the end of World War II. The echoes of D-Day reverberated far beyond the shores of Normandy. As the dust settled and the tide retreated, the immediate aftermath was a sight of both triumph and tragedy. The beaches, once a picturesque backdrop, were now painted with the stark reality of war. Allied forces stood victorious, but at a heavy price. Thousands of brave souls lost in the quest for freedom. This pivotal moment in history was not just about the victory of a single day, but the strategic advantages it brought. The Allies had successfully established a foothold in Nazi-occupied Europe. This was the much-needed springboard for further offensives into the heart of enemy territory. From here, the Allies would launch Operation Cobra, a massive assault that would ultimately liberate Paris and push the Germans back across their own borders. But the effects of D-Day were not solely physical. The psychological impact was just as profound. For the Allies, the successful landing boosted morale immeasurably. Soldiers, generals, and civilians alike breathed a sigh of relief, their faith in victory restored. The tide of the war had turned, and they could sense it. On the other side, the Axis powers were struck with a demoralizing blow. The impenetrable Atlantic Wall had been breached. The invincible German army had been bested. Doubt seeped into the minds of soldiers and leaders alike. The once unwavering belief in their Führer's invincibility began to waver. The seeds of defeat were sown. In the decades that followed, the impact of D-Day was felt far beyond the battlefield. It marked a turning point in the war, a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. It redefined the meaning of courage and sacrifice, of unity and resolve. It reshaped the geopolitical landscape, setting the stage for the world as we know it today. The ripples of D-Day continue to shape our world, reminding us of the cost of freedom and the courage of those who fight for it. From the drawing board to the battlefield, D-Day was a testament to human resilience and strategic brilliance. It was an operation that showcased the incredible power of meticulous planning, immense bravery, and unwavering determination. It all started with a blueprint, a daring plan to invade the heavily fortified beaches of Normandy, to break the grip of Nazi Germany on Western Europe. The execution of this plan, now famously known as the Longest Day, was a display of courage and sacrifice that turned the tide of the Second World War. Thousands of soldiers from varied backgrounds, united under a common cause, stormed the beaches despite the odds, forever etching their names in the annals of history. Following the landings, the aftermath was a mix of victory and devastation. The operation, while successful, came at a steep cost. Yet it was a necessary price for the liberation of Europe and the eventual end of the war. The legacy of D-Day continues to resonate today, reminding us of the immense sacrifices made by the brave souls who fought, and the strategic importance of the operation in shaping the course of history. It stands as a testament to the power of unity, courage, and determination in overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. As we remember D-Day, we honor the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought, and we are reminded of the power of unity in the face of adversity.